Chinese experience or the experience of the BRI funding was a complete reversal of the textbook case for this. Whereas countries such as in South Asia, and certainly for Sri Lanka, and I keep a Sri Lankan focus, we needed to attract foreign direct investment, FDI. Instead, China is actually not an investor in Sri Lanka. In fact, they have barely investor. They have been a lender in Sri Lanka. You really don't have Chinese firms, state-owned or otherwise, that have actually come and invested, as in taking equity positions or so on. But they have instead been lenders. And so they're not investors in Sri Lanka, they are lenders. And this lending has been the kindest thing that one could say, and since my previous experience as a Sri Lankan diplomat, I would say it has been non-concessionary. Let's put it that way. Take the particular loan that was given for the port. You would not really want to fund ports in this way. 15-year loan, non-concessionary, and at about 6.5% in US dollar terms. This is not what you would generally go for. I mean, your average US bond, even at that time, would be about half this. So you don't really move into large-scale infrastructure at loans that are at, shall we say, a premium to the market, let alone at a discount to the market. The other factor, of course, that's not only the interest rate, is the tough conditionalities that come with these loan covenants. It insists that you actually source all your services, or the contract goes to a Chinese contractor. And so Sri Lanka's experience of that, and I will be very brief, is that the Chinese contracting costs have been at about 1/3 higher to 50% higher, and sometimes even higher than 50% higher to global norms for contraction of such services. So for instance, where there has been a bit of highway that has been built by Chinese constructors, if one is able to take the total cost, and per kilometer Sri Lanka has some of the most expensive highways in the world today. And this is because the cost comes not only with the interest rate, but the cost comes by being locked into a supplier who is then allowed to jack up the price and basically just add to the project cost. Part of the political leverage that comes into it is fairly astronomical, but worth stating for a situation such as this, and would be interesting discussion at our panel discussion, is that at the time that Sri Lanka was guzzling Chinese debt at 6, 7, 8%, it actually turned down $500 million or $500 million of a grant from the Millennium Challenge Corporation. And so this was part of the research and writings that I did. I said, you have to be a particularly kind of lunatic to actually turn down $500 million in free money to go after a couple of billion of very expensive money. Now, the opposition to taking to the MCC compact did come from political parties and trade unions that were closely allied and possibly very well funded by the Communist Party or by various entities in China. The other issue that is particularly relevant to Sri Lanka, given that we are now bankrupt and not paying our international loans, has been the renegotiation of all our debts, obviously, including that of China. Until several days, perhaps a week ago, part of the problem was, to put it pithily, China was not coming to the party. There was repeated attempts to have a Sri Lanka debtor forum, and these were to be organized, facilitated by the IMF, and that didn't work multilaterally. Actually, firstly by Japan as a lead debtor, by the Peiris club, and the Chinese took the position, no, we will negotiate this bilaterally, not multilaterally. Then said, no, this is not government, we will say the specific institutions will have to do their own negotiations, and on principle we refuse to take what's commonly referred to as a haircut. for your debts. This has obviously not only been unhelpful in terms of actually renegotiation, but it has meant that the process has not really started. So really Sri Lanka is a bit at a standstill. And the geopolitical and the political implications of this I'll probably leave to our discussion, not least because my time is up. I would merely say that one of the things that is interesting to note is that Chinese involvement in policy or politics is taking a shift. Obviously, we have seen the regional involvement, the political engagement, and this is different from what Chinese policy and politics were maybe a decade or two ago. Sri Lanka had a long-running civil war. There were many countries that were facilitating even the peace process during that time. China was not involved, but right now one sees a very active Chinese footprint in domestic politics, supporting candidates, funding elites, funding politics, and not necessarily in the most transparent manner. And generally a lot of both the political activities and in fact economic activities as well as been mentioned, these MOUs are hard to find, even in parliament they're not tabled. And so the opacity of all of this is significant cause for concern. I would merely say Sri Lanka has to benefit by the growing economy of China as well as India, and needs to position itself to do that. Unfortunately, I would take the blame on Sri Lankan governing elites that have failed to do so, and today Sri Lanka is in an unenviable position from which we need to find a way back. Thank you.